All right, we got Grandmaster Caz here. Thank you so much for this interview.
You're welcome.
My students are going to be so thrilled. It means so much to us.
All right.
So KRS-One says you can't eat a bowl of spaghetti and then act like you know everything about Italian culture. And so in what ways do you think that the history of hip-hop has been people kind of doing that, you know, having that one bowl of spaghetti and then thinking they're an expert? And in what ways has it been done well? Because you were involved in hip-hop evolution and the hip-hop years, which I think are two good documentaries. But in what ways is the history telling getting it right, and which ways is it wrong?
Well, the problem is that the true history can only be told by those that made that history and those that were there. So you get in the stories second and third hand from different people, and it's becoming like the Bible. You know what I mean? It gets reinterpreted from every person who feels they want to tell that particular story. So it has been kind of watered down, and some of the facts have been blurred, but everybody's still here. So there's still a chance to get, you know, a comprehensive story. But it's just that it's coming from different people documenting hip-hop instead of the people that were actually doing it. So that's what's happening right now.
So can you think of any specifics that say hip-hop evolution did really well, and then maybe some things that they were missing?
I think they did well, and I think that they want to do more.
They do?
Yeah.
They stopped at episode 4 now. It's so
Yeah, but I think it's a worthwhile thing, and they believe it as well. So I think you'll probably see more from that. And I think different entities are starting to take an interest in really bringing forth truth and bringing forth that era, because I don't know, there must be something in the air that tells them, hey, these guys aren't going to be around you know, that much longer. I mean, we won't be able to go talk to them. We won't be able to, you know what I mean? So I think it's important now, or people are starting to feel that it's important to document that truth and to get to the heart of that. LL Cool J's took over Sirius Radio and has his own Rock the Bells radio thing where he's playing old school tapes. I mean, you know, tapes of us from like the early 80s and, you know, live stuff. So I think other people starting to feel that it's important to document it, and hopefully, you know, they'll come to the source and get, you know, the story straight from the people that made it happen.
That's awesome. And what was your favorite part about being a part of the birth of this movement? Like when you think back, you know, maybe even a standout memory or just an overall favorite element that you enjoyed?
I mean, overall, I'm just glad that I achieved my dream. I mean, really, it wasn't really that big when I was a kid. I just wanted to be famous. I wanted to be able to walk down the street and people know my name, and got that.
You did get that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And more. So, there's no one particular thing that I can really pull out. There's some things that I'm known for more than others because some things have been more publicized. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, people don't know the half of, you know, this roller coaster ride that I've taken, you know, in these last 40 some odd years. But they will.
They will.
Yeah, they will.
Keep documenting.
Oh, definitely.
So one thing that my students are really interested in and are very familiar with is the famous battle with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, and the way that, you know, like your tapes, basically they won, but then your tapes proved to be the best. Right?
Okay, that wasn't Grandmaster Flash.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got it mixed up.
Right, that was Theodore and the Fantastic Five.
And the Fantastic Five. Sorry,
yeah.
I got it twisted right there. But
it was basically kind of a changing of the guard. You know what I mean? These guys were like the next marquee group after the Furious Five and Funky Four had gotten record deals. So these guys were on the road. So the next group in line, as far as being the top group in New York, was them and us.
Yeah.
As far as the Bronx was concerned, and we just finally came to a head. Now, like you said, I mean, the general. Well, the fact is that night they won. They won the battle. They got more cheers and screams than we did, so they won the battle. But after the battle, the tapes started to circulate, and people started to listen to those tapes. And if you listen to them objectively, and you don't look at the faces behind it, you just listen to the show and you listen to people started to say, wait a minute, these guys sound much better than these guys. These guys are much, you know. But that night, you know, they went on last, which is always a plus. The last impression you get is the one that's the freshest in your mind. And they legitimately won. They did their thing. But after that, it was all about us. I mean, it just the tide just turned, and people's realizations like, wait, hold on, you know.
These guys have the better rhymes.
Yeah. We had the better show. We had the better routines, and we were like the blue collar guys. They were like the pretty boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was what I got. From
Yeah.
my study.
That's pretty much what it was. So when you take away the visual, all you're left with is the sound, and our sound prevailed.
Excellent. Now, so that's one standout memory. Do you have another one that hasn't been as documented as that one?
Oh,
I'm sure you have so many, but
so many places that I've had to sleep in because I couldn't get my equipment out of there. I couldn't have any, you know, the guy with the van, you know, left or whatever, and I know it takes 3 taxi cabs to get all my equipment in, and no cab would stop for me, so I had to take the equipment back in the club and stay in the club. My mother would never let me leave my equipment anywhere, so I had to stay wherever my equipment was at. I remember that.
that's a good memory.
Yeah, many occasions, you know. I just curled up on a pool table or something like that, and hopefully the next morning I can get my stuff in.
That's crazy.
Really?
So then, what do you think about hip hop now? Like, what do you think has kind of happened with it? What are your objective thoughts?
I mean, hip hop as a culture, or hip hop, you know, as perceived by the masses, because to everybody, rap music is hip hop. But rap music is a part of hip hop, and when you don't consider any other element, it's even less of a part of hip hop. So when you say hip hop, to me anyway, I'm talking about the whole culture. I'm talking about the b-boys, you know, that's still breaking and having battles around the world about the DJ competition. I just hosted the DMC battles in New York City. I'm a part of every element in hip hop. That's hip hop. That's hip hop, you know what I mean? I just took a group of people down to the Graffiti Hall of Fame today, and just, you know, that's hip hop. That's the hip hop that I'm connected to and stay connected to. Rap music is another entity. It's another question. You know what I mean? When you ask me about hip hop and you ask me about rap music, it's like a whole another thing, because it's kind of separated itself from the culture. But rap music, you know, I'm not as learned about today's rap music as I am about the rest of the culture, because I'm more connected to the rest of the culture. Today, there was a gap between it, not only for the music, but for me. There was a 10-year distance between me and hip-hop music, period. So, coming back, you know, I still gravitated towards the things that brought me to it in the first place, and the things that I thought were important then. A lot of those things were missing when I resumed my hip-hop, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, today, it's even further away from the hip-hop that I've known. So, I'm not as qualified to speak on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got an appreciation that that this generation has kept it going. For whatever way they've interpreted, it's still going. You know what I mean? The music is still going. You know what I mean? The art form of storytelling over beats is still going. So, I mean, I thank them for that. But like I said, I'm not as learned about this generation. You know what I mean? I'm still, you know what I mean? I'm still an old school dude. You know what I mean?
Totally, that's understandable.
Yeah, and understandably so. And you know, that's how it is. Every generation has their generation, has their music, has the things that they, you know what I mean, made them who they are. So, yeah, those are the things that I'm more in touch with.
Totally. My kids do learn all about the culture, and we talk all about the different elements and everything like that.
Yeah,
especially in the beginning.
Because they're important. They're important. That's what makes it a culture. If it was just music, it would just be music.
Right. Right.
Okay, if it was just dancing, it would just be dancing. You know, if it was just art, it would just be art. All of those things are things within themselves, but when you combine them in a generation, that's hip hop.
I like it. Have you do you listen to Rappers Out of Control? I think you work with DJ Eclipse on production ones, right?
Sure.
That's some cool East Coast hip hop that's new, and you know what I mean.
I like the fact that there's still an entity, like Eclipse in his show that showcases lyricism like that, because it's almost a lost art form in rap music today. I'm not gonna say in hip hop. It's not a lost art form in hip hop, but in rap music, it's definitely becoming a lost art form. So anything that helps to keep that alive, it keeps people's awareness of it alive, is a good thing. So shout out to Eclipse. That's my dude.
His show is amazing.
Yeah,
I love it. I listen to it every week. I feel like this separation between understanding the difference between hip hop and rap music, which is something I emphasize in the course, but it's more understood here in the East Coast than it is on the West Coast. You know?
Yeah, because we don't see, by the time the West Coast got it, it was rap music. You know what I mean? They didn't incorporate the elements. They had those elements as well. They had, dancing, you know what I mean? They had graffiti, you know what I mean? But they didn't incorporate the elements, the way we did. And I think it was because of Africa Bambaataa, who really helped to unite the culture and unite these elements here on the East Coast and in the early days of hip-hop, to help to define what these elements were, what they meant to us, and how they connected. And that's what hip-hop is. That's what, that's the umbrella that he put those things underneath. So these things exist in all different cultures, but like I said, we put them together, practiced them together, you know what I mean? And hip hop is the result.
Love it. So, what advice do you have for young people who love and are passionate about hip hop, about the culture?
I mean, to love it, to embrace it, you know what I mean? To research it, to learn about it, and pass it on. You know what I mean? You ever hear a good song and you be like, oh man, my friends got to hear this. My friends got it. That's what hip hop is. When you learn about hip hop, it's like, I got to tell somebody this. You know what I mean? And it's catchy, you know what I mean? And people start to gravitate towards it when they see your passion for it. So I would tell people that, if you have a love and a passion for hip hop, exercise it. Exercise that love and passion.
And learn about it. I love that part.
Definitely, because you can't really, love something you don't really know fully about. And if you do, then you'll take the time to see, okay, well, why is this thing touching me like this? Why do I like this so much? Where did it come from? Where did all these questions will start coming about, and then you'll do the research.
Yeah, I feel like teaching this course has changed my perspective entirely on what it means to love something and to enjoy it, because I think people can be very passive consumers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
They can really like something and they think they like it. They liked it since high school or whatever, then middle school, and then it's just like you start learning about something and you realize how little you ever really knew.
Yeah.
And how much there is to learn and grow within something.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. So I just went to Columbia University and I heard actually this guy lecture. He's really big into hip hop education, like kind of remixing the education system to involve hip hop and to bring in the kind of elements of hip hop, but also just the idea behind it, the freshness, right? And he was talking about how when you separate a culture from its elders, then there's a sort of dysfunction that occurs. And I'm wondering what you think about that, and if you think that's happened to hip hop, because his argument was sort of that it has because of the commercialization.
Yeah.
And so it's been commercialized as a young person's thing, and then that separates the young people from the elders and creates dysfunction in the young.
Yeah, definitely. Hip hop started as a youth movement. Okay, we were kids when we started doing hip hop. And the need for hip hop was there because we were trying to exercise those same those same likes that older kids had, but we were just too young to do. Of course we love music. Of course we love to dance. Of course we love to dress up. You know what I mean? But we can't do it there. We can't, you know what I mean? We can't do it there. So wherever we could do it, we created our little subculture. You know what I mean? And that evolved into hip hop. You know, we couldn't get into a discotheque. Okay, but there's this gymnasium, and they throw parties in there. We could just go in there and get that off of our, you know what I mean? And then, well, we can't, if we go in this place, we might can get in, but we can't dance like this, because they don't allow dancing like that. The only time you can dance like that is if you're in the park, or if you had one of those parties. Okay, so we had to go to one of those parties to dance to get off that, you know what I mean? So, like I'm saying, all of this is taking us right back to hip-hop and the need for hip-hop and how it came about and developed. It was something that was needed, you know? And we just grabbed from other things and that we aspired to, and we just made a little thing, like, okay, take a little bit of that, take a little bit of that. Boom, now this is our thing. Boom. Hip hop.
I love it. I love teaching my kids that, you know, it's young kids can do what they want to do. They can come up with something great.
Oh, of course. Most great things come from the ideas of young kids. I mean, they might not happen when they're young, but eventually that young kid grows into somebody older. And when they're able to put that idea into fruition, you know, those are where most of our creations come from.
Yeah, I love it. So what do you wish you'd known when you were 17? Like, what would you tell your 17-year-old self?
Stay in school and study business. Yeah.
So what makes you say that?
Well, because no matter what you do later on in life, business comes into play. Knowing business, knowing the banking system, knowing, you know, how to start a business, how to maintain a business, and knowing checks and balances, and knowing money management. That's important. And everybody that has anything worth anything knows those things. It's the people who don't, you know what I mean, who are without. So if I could monetize what I had at 17 with that knowledge in business, by the time I was 20, 21, I would have owned hip hop. I would have, you know what I mean? I would have had a business acumen behind hip hop alongside the creativity.
Right.
See, back then, when you're young, you're just, let's do it. I feel this passion to do something, so I gotta sing, I gotta dance, I gotta write, I gotta, you know what I mean? And that's what drives you. But once you establish that as a career or what you want to do, then you gotta learn the business behind that. So if there's anything that I could have done or would do or tell somebody else to do, it's definitely handle your business. You know what I mean?
That's great advice.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids need that advice because they don't see necessarily the long term.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking right now and let somebody hand you a contract for something. It's going to look like, huh? What does this mean? It's a language that you don't even understand. Do you pay people to read these things for you and stuff like that? Whereas you can get that knowledge yourself. Be able to read your own contract, understand it, interpret it, and give it back. Like, you know what, this is all right, but this and that, we such and such.
Absolutely, yeah. So is that kind of what happened with the Sugar Hill Gang? It's like, you know, like you didn't have that knowledge at the time, and so you were just like, here.
Exactly.
And then you got taken advantage of.
Yeah, that's what happened, because the people who do know, the people who do have the knowledge are the people that are guilty of the crimes. You know what I mean? Big Bank Hank, he didn't know. He didn't know either. He didn't know what he was getting into. He didn't know, not to say that he wasn't wrong for not, you know what I mean, looking back or saying something or whatever once he got caught up. But yeah, he got taken advantage of as well, and so did every other artist on that label. That's the rules of the record business. You know what I mean? And had we known that, we wouldn't aspire to be a part of the record business. But back then, we just we were like hood famous street in the streets. Everybody knew us, but then here comes everybody. Hey, this and that. You want to make a record and this and that, and such, and hey, we want to document. We want to do this movie, and all these other people came. We didn't ask for any of that. Nobody asked for any of that. You know what I mean? And when it came, we weren't prepared for it. So, problem is that record contracts don't come with instructions.
That's the point. They like it that way.
Exactly.
It's always been like that.
Exactly. So I mean, yeah, to definitely keep up that side of, you know, any career that you get into, you got to know the business of it. I mean, even if you work for somebody, you got to know who's paying you, how are they paying, how are they able to pay you, and all these other people. And that's what I would be thinking. You know what I mean? That's the kind of acumen I wish I had back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Back then, I just wanted to write rhymes and get girls.
Yeah.
Okay? Write rhymes, get girls, and dress nice.
Well, they want that too.
Yeah,
They
but
want that too.
You can have all that, and this, and this. I didn't understand that back then. You can have that and this.
That's great advice. I can't wait for my kids to hear that. So, were you friends with did you know Tupac? My kid, this is a question directly for my kids.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to know if you knew Big L, if you knew Tupac, and if you could tell them also about some of the
Okay, I met Tupac. Know him like we were buddies, friends? No, but we were acquaintances. Whenever he saw me, he acknowledged me, gave me love. Whenever I saw him, I did the same thing. He acknowledged me on his song, on one of the songs on his album, Me Against the World. The song is called Old School. And, you know, he goes, I remember Mr. Magic Flash, Grandmaster Caz. And so, I mean, that was love, you know what I mean, to hear that come from him. So, I didn't know him personally, but obviously he knew me and had a lot of respect. Big L, I knew Big L as well. About the same as I can say Tupac, although Big L lived, you know, here in New York City. I saw him a little more often, but I can't say we were friends, but we definitely had a mutual respect. He knew I was an OG. I knew he was a young buck, and he was one of the most lyrical and gifted MCs I ever met.
I love it. So, where do you think hip hop would be without you? I mean, it seems like you're so core, in my understanding of the culture. And I don't know if that's an awkward question to answer because
Hip hop would be right where it is without me. You know what I mean? I'm just one of the people that helped to shape it. I can say that I've inspired generations of people to do it, but had it not been me, I think it would have been somebody else. So I don't think me as an individual would change the landscape of hip hop any. I'm just lucky that I was one of them. I was there.
I'm sure you have a ripple effect that's beyond what you can comprehend.
Probably
and really
so, but
articulate. Well, look what I got. I don't know if you've seen this before, but this is
Yeah.
graphic novel. You seen that?
Sure.
There you are.
Uh-huh.
And
This is
then they
Ed
have this-
Pisker's book, right?
Yeah, I just picked this up. I wanted to show you.
Ah.
Yeah, you
The
remember that part?
amphitheater. Wild style.
Well, hey, also wondering, me personally too, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I got that for my kids to see if I could do some sort of project with it. I'm thinking I can photocopy some pages and have them put them in order.
Uh-huh.
Different things that happen, all kinds of stuff. Do you have any advice for me as a teacher who's trying to teach about the history of hip hop? I mean, I've always loved hip hop, but I'm still more, of an outsider looking in. And an interesting thing when you are attempting to document a culture and teach it to younger people is like you want to be careful. You want to have the most accuracy. And so I guess I have the most respect for trying to convey the essence of something which you're not integral to, right? And so I wondered about your advice for me in that respect, like how I could best convey this culture to young people.
I mean, research, and do what you're doing right now. Try to reach out to as many people on a personal level that, that can connect you directly, you know what I mean, to hip hop, you're not going to get to talk to everybody. You might not get, you know what I mean, everybody that you want to talk to, but just the fact that, you know, you're reaching out, you know, you seeking knowledge like that. If you have a passion, it's going to come to you. The energy is going to come to you.
I've been really blown away by the generosity and the love that hip hop has had for me every time I inquire and try to do research. Like people taking perfectly good time out of their busy schedule, you know what I mean? Like just really talking to me, giving me answers, just doing everything that they can to, you know, it's been so amazing.
Well, that's what hip hop is about. I mean, really. I mean, you see the records and the videos and the life and the hip hop didn't start with all that. Hip hop didn't have those kind of aspirations. So the real heart of hip hop is in doing things like this and the feeling that you get from people when you go around and talk to them. That's what hip hop is.
And what about teaching young people, and young people who are, like you said, more passionate about music and getting girls and looking nice and like, what do you wish some of your teachers had done for you?
My teachers did everything they were supposed to do. I was a knucklehead. I was looking outside of my teachers. My influences came from more places than just school. So school was like, okay, you know what? Keep it. Now they go to what I like and what I'm interested in. So I breezed through school. School wasn't challenging for me or interesting after a while. So because I wasn't pursuing the things that like I spoke about earlier, everything else I knew, I had it. I'm good. School is not going to help me give out these flyers for this party, okay? School is not going to help me take this equipment to this place and this and that. School is not going to help me DJ. It's not going to help me break dance. It's not going to help me. You know, that was my attitude. And so I felt like I had to be encompassed with hip hop. Whereas I looked years later, a lot of my friends went to school, graduated, you know what I mean? They still did their hip hop thing up to a certain degree, but a few people have shown that you could have kept a job and still been hip hop. You could have, but to me it was one thing or the other. It was one thing or the other, and I just chose hip hop.
So do you think then a good thing for adults to do when trying to mentor young people is to make that connection more clear?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
you have to because it's like just sending people out in the world like, okay, you know what?
Okay.
I made it through, without having those things, but look how much further I could have been had I had those things, you know what I mean? And or had the knowledge of elders that would hand down that kind of information and like, hey, don't do that because this and that. I didn't have people around me like that, so it's about handing down those lessons so people don't make the same mistakes.
What do you see that's happening in your community that you love for young people?
What I love is when I see kids like kids. When I see them out, look.
Yeah. In the playground.
Yeah. You don't see that a lot too much. But yeah, that's the best thing. To see kids just out being kids, being active, running around and building things.
I love it. So do you have any messages for my students, any other messages besides, study business, like stay on top of your...
I would just say stay around people that are motivated. You know what I mean? People that motivate you and people that are doing things positive. Stay around people that do the things that you like to do. Whatever you aspire to do. If you like music, stay around musicians. If you like dancing, stay around dancers. All right? If you like science, stay around scientists. You know what I mean? And soak up all that you can get.
Love it. Do you see, it's interesting the kind of drug and alcohol use with teens, and then the way that transfers into music culture, And so, what advice do you have for young people in that regard that's practical? Because this is not going to be, shown to the,
Yeah, well, basically, drugs and alcohol have nothing to do with music culture at all. Drugs and alcohol have to do with people.
Yeah.
Okay, and it just happens so that some people are musicians.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah.
And no matter what they would be doing in life, they would be doing drugs or alcohol. So a lot of times music is glorifies drug and alcohol use through videos and through, you know what I mean, messages and music. But those are, like I said, those are the people that make that music. Like whatever they did in life, that's what they would do. Those are the things that are important to them at that time in their life. Because a lot of people get older and it's like, it's a whole new message. So sometimes you got to grow through it. My advice is that, you know, you need no drug or controlled or uncontrolled substance to help you be creative. That's not really a part of music. It's just that some musicians do that.
I totally agree. I don't think it's like necessarily connected to
No,
music.
no, it's not.
The kids sometimes see it as it is
because like I said, they glorify it on songs and records, and you know what I mean. And I mean, it's a lot deeper than just, you know, that. You know, kids just talk about that. I mean, it's the larger entity that lets those messages go out to kids like that. You know what I mean? There's just as many people talking about, you know, school or growing up or love, you know what I mean? But those messages aren't going out to the kids the way the messages about, you know, negative things are. So you have to just put all that together and kind of, hey, why am I only hearing bad stuff? Like, where's, like, you know, you kind of seek out your good stuff because it's there. But we got more media than just radio and TV now. You got internet, you can, you know, look for your knowledge. You can seek your knowledge. Hey, this is Grandmaster Caz, the legend. Do your homework and listen to Miss Cunningham. Don't make me have to come up there, all right? Peace.